communication in all of our lives. At this time, I'm going to return the control over to our Toastmaster of the day, which is James. And while you're sitting there, put down who you think is the best speaker and pass it along to our ballot counter and timer one. You're welcome.
Now,
Oh,
yes, we need a timer report.
always pretty.
And these time of 1 minute and 5 seconds. In 1 minute 30 seconds. And going 1 minute 18 seconds.
Yes. Okay.
All qualified, is that?
Yes.
Okay, all qualified. So the competition gets tougher. Okay. Our theme today is how to make our club grow. And as Tim so eloquently put it, it's hard to build upon what has already been done. Well, we're certainly going to try. Some ideas that I came up with is, I think all members have an obligation to the club. And this is just an automatic obligation that comes with being a member. And that means that you should promote our club to friends, family, whomever, just tell about how much fun we have and how much food and drink and everything else. Food's what's important to me. But anyway, you should sign up for the meetups as a member. There should be a large group of people every week showing that they're going to be at meetup. Through the meetup, that they're going to be here. The same thing for Yelp. As a member of Toastmasters of this club, you should always go to Yelp and make comments about our meetings. And you know what this does? By having everybody doing all this, it looks like we're very active, which we are. But it looks like we're very active and have a lot going on. You should do the same thing on LinkedIn. If you don't have an account with LinkedIn, you should have one, and you should have Toastmasters as one of the groups that you're connected to. So those are just some thoughts that I had there. Let's see, I believe we are now. We're going to talk about the first speech, which in this case is going to be for Art. Art is, let's see here. He's speaking from his Competent Communicator, the CC manual, and it's going to be research your topic. And it's going to be 5 to 7 minutes long. And he's going to talk about the 4 most important astronomical achievements. I'm going to be very interested in that myself. He's been with Queen City Toastmasters for the last 8 months. And this is going to be his 7th speech. Let's welcome Art Cardenas.
Thank you. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow members and guests, for the last 400 years, most of the important scientific discoveries have been made in astronomy. And today, I'm going to tell you about 4 of the most important achievements in astronomy. Without any of those contributions, the world would be very different as we know it today. We wouldn't know about the orbit of the planets. We wouldn't know about how the actual planets look, the colors, some of the stars that we know today, the motion of the galaxies, and in general, how the universe behaves. The first achievement was the invention of the telescope. It was done in the early 1600s by a gentleman, Galileo Galilei. He was an Italian scientist that presented a new device to the Italian Scientific Society. This new device had 2 mirrors mounted on a cylinder. And back in those days, he used this new device more for entertainment purposes. he used it to actually watch their neighbors from the top of the building where they used to meet and watch their neighbors. Later, he actually pointed the telescope to the sky to see the details of the planets and the stars. For the first time ever, they were able to see how the planets look, more details about the color, the shape, even some of the moons of the planets, and some of the stars. After that, the telescope was used for commercial purposes. Was used mainly by ships arriving to ports to make sure they were arriving to the correct part of the world. Later, it was used for military purposes to spy from a distance on enemy troops and see well in advance what they were doing. The second achievement, and this is a revolutionary idea that even to me today is one of the most important understandings in science, was finding out the speed of light. When I read about this, I couldn't believe how they came out to be. Back in those days, in the late 1600s, everybody believed that the speed of light was instantaneous, that you could actually see from point A to point B with no delay what was happening. They used to pontificate. They used to pontificate about this concept. They couldn't believe that there was some kind of delay between the light between two objects. But a gentleman by the name Ole Romer, he was observing Saturn and the moons of Saturn. He was keeping track of the orbits of the moons around Saturn. And what he observes, based on the calculations of the orbits, because back in those days they were able to determine the orbits, it didn't make sense. When Saturn was closer to the Earth, when Saturn was farthest to the Earth, there was a difference. It took several years to actually come out to this conclusion. The difference was about 40 seconds that the calculations didn't actually match. For the first time, he proposed that light had speed, that light actually travels from point A to point B. And this was a revolutionary concept because it caused a big commotion back in those days. And up to these days, that actually solved a lot of problems. He calculated the speed of light with a very accurate way, up to 90% from what we know today. So that was a very important discovery. The third achievement was finding out about if the universe is expanding or retracting. This happened in the late 1920s by a gentleman, Edwin Hubble. He set out to find out if the universe was expanding or retracting based on the theory of the Big Bang. He, through many years, they used to keep the pictures from the telescope on a black and white film, and he tracked many galaxies, more than 100 galaxies, the position where they were. Through many years, 5 years, he measured where the galaxies were moving. He found out that the universe is expanding in general. This also caused a big commotion back in those days. Albert Einstein, he has to change his theory of relativity just because of this fact. Nobody could believe that the universe was expanding in general. The fourth achievement was finding out if the expanding universe is accelerating or slowing down. There were the general belief that the universe was slowing down as it expands. And a group of astronomers set out to find out if this was true or not. Just recently, in 1998, they found out that the universe is accelerating in the expansion, it's not slowing down. They actually won the Nobel Prize in 2011 just because of this discovery. It was very important to find out. They couldn't explain back in those days why this was happening. Everyone was expecting the universe to slow down. They had to come out with two new concepts to explain for two parts that nobody could understand. One is what the visible light of the galaxies couldn't account for the gravity to keep it together. And they call it dark matter. but also they couldn't explain why the expansion of the universe was so fast. So they came up with a new concept called dark energy. With those, I'm going to conclude. I'd like to summarize again the 4 most important discoveries in astronomy. Number 1 is invention of the telescope. Number 2 is finding out the speed of light. Number 3 is finding out that the universe is expanding. And number 4, that expansion is accelerating. Hopefully you get something out of this speech. And now I'd like to return control to James.
Thank you, Art. That was very interesting, and I still wonder if the universe expands to a certain point like a rubber band and then comes back. I don't know.
No.
Anyway, I'm going to kind of give a grammarian report. It's not going to be a true one. It's just going to be what I can do off the cuff here. I want to say we had some very good speakers today. I was very impressed with Wayne here. I thought Wayne did a very good job. Art, of course, always does a good job in my opinion. And I guess, let's see, do we have any ballots that are winners? Do we have any winners, I should say? And I'm going to let Juan talk about that.
The winner for tabletop speakers is going to Wayne. No, of course not.
We're getting your ribbon.
Thank you.
And you will be able to see your speech on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
All right. Let's see now. Any final comments from anybody? Okay. I'm going to return control to our president, Laura.
All right, who's our general evaluator tonight? Felicia Neal. Actually, I'm going to for you. You can introduce our evaluator for the evening.
All right.
We like to clap at the end of the meeting.
That motivates people.
Thank you.
That motivates people.
I don't know who the evaluators are for today. Tim, okay, all right. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm the general evaluator. My job is to just talk in general on how our session has gone today, provide feedback, and I'll be doing that towards the end of our meeting today. And one of the next things we'll be doing now is I'll be calling upon Tim, who's going to evaluate our speech and give some feedback, and both some constructive feedback as well as some things that he could do better in his next speech, and so that he can continue improving. Come on over, Tim.